There's a simple daily check that every horse owner should be doing. In the next 5 minutes, I'm going to show you how to take the digital pulse and why it's such a powerful way to monitor your horse for laminitis prevention. You don't need to take notes. I've put together a cheat sheet for you. You can access that without having to give an email or anything nasty like that. I just want as many horse owners as possible to get access to this information. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Debs Crozier, founder of the Hoof Geek Academy, where I've taught hundreds of horse people how to recognise signs of low-grade laminitis so they can take action early. This is the first video in a 3-part low-grade laminitis masterclass where you're going to learn how to take the digital pulse effectively and how to use it effectively, and 10 commonly seen signs of low-grade laminitis so you can get ahead of laminitis early and protect your horse. Why do we take the digital pulse then? Firstly, it's a really good indicator if there's any inflammation in the hoof. If there is inflammation in the hoof, you will have a digital pulse. Quite often when we see a horse go lame, we'll go and take their digital pulse after, and often we find a pulse. But something that we don't realise is that sometimes the pulse is actually there before the lameness shows up. So it can almost predict some lameness. It can tell you that there's a problem developing before you see the lameness often. So it can be very powerful to take it for that reason. For that reason, it's worth taking it every day, because when you see your horse lame and you go and take the digital pulse, the next piece of information you need is, was that pulse there yesterday and how long has it been there? You're not going to know that unless you were taking the pulse daily. It's really important to take it daily. What you're looking for, you're feeling for the pressure of the pulse, not the speed. So we're not looking for pulse rate. We're looking for how much is it bounding on your fingertips? Is it mild? Is it medium? So it tells you, what that tells you is how much pressure there is in the hoof, because the digital pulse is a sign that blood is struggling to get into the hoof. It's that pressure in the hoof that causes soreness and causes growth issues and hoof pathology. So these are all tied into each other, and the digital pulse is the one thing that can that can give you this information about what's going on. So the horse's pulse is about somewhere between 30 and 40 beats per minute, which is about half the speed of ours. That tends to throw some people off that it's slower. Right, so we're here with Vanya, so I can show you how to take a digital pulse. If I can hold the camera right, it's down here. It's usually round about here. On some horses it can be a little bit further round. If I move the camera so you can see, it's just on the edge there. If you have a feel around, you'll be able to feel the artery, be able to feel the tendon there as well. And you just want to press hard enough that you can feel the pulse, but not so hard that you've stopped the blood flow and you can't feel anything. It is a good sign if you can't find the pulse. Here, obviously, you want your horse to have a pulse, just not one down here. If you've got a horse with heavily feathered feet, you will be able to find one around about here as well. Or if there's still too much feather for that, then you can, if I use the other leg, it has just moved. You're not helping, man. You'll be able to feel a pulse up here, higher up. Now, what actually happens is the higher up the leg you take the pulse, the less strong it will be. If you find a pulse, you can try it. You'll find it's stronger here, not quite as strong here, and then when you're up at the top here, it's milder again, which is why I prefer to take the pulse at the bottom, because that's where it will be strongest. That's where it relates most to the hoof capsule. So a few tips for taking the digital pulse. Breathe. Don't forget to breathe. For some reason, people tend to hold their breath in anticipation, and it's much more difficult to actually feel the pulse if you're holding your breath. I don't know why, it just is. Do take the digital pulse daily. That's really important. And keep a record if you have a laminitis-prone horse, or if you want to. That can be really, really useful when you want to look back and see if they have a pulse. I tend to mark the pulse out of 3. So 0 would be no pulse at all. A 1 would be very mild pulse. 2 would be somewhere in the middle. 3 is bounding. And if you have a 3, please do call your vet. And again, remember, you're feeling for the pressure, not the pulse rate. And it's not necessarily bad if you can't find a pulse. It's a good sign if there isn't a digital pulse. Obviously, you do want a pulse. So, like I said, I've put together a cheat sheet for you. All this information is in that. You can go and have a look at that if you go to hoofgeek.com/LGL or click the link in the description.